In ancient Persia, two brothers lived vastly different lives. Ali Baba, the younger, was a humble woodcutter.
His days were spent in honest toil, sweat glistening on his brow as he chopped wood. Kasim, the elder brother, was consumed by greed.
Kasim's large house stood in stark contrast to Ali Baba's modest dwelling.
Little did they know that fate was about to intertwine their destinies in unimaginable ways. Dawn broke over the Persian landscape. Ali Baba set out early, his donkey laden with woodcutting tools.
As he ventured deeper into the woods, an unusual sound caught his attention.
Alarmed, Ali Baba quickly hid behind a large boulder. 40 horsemen, their faces concealed, approached a sheer rock face.
Open sesame.
The rock face trembled and shifted, revealing a cave entrance.
Open sesame!
The cave revealed itself, and Ali Baba stood at the threshold of a life-changing decision. Ali Baba's curiosity overpowered his fear. The tales of unimaginable wealth hidden within the cave had always been whispered among the villagers, but few dared to seek it out. Ali Baba, however, was different. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and excitement as he approached the cave's entrance, the words of the legend echoing in his mind. He stepped into the cave, his eyes widening at the sight before him. The cavern was filled with treasures beyond his wildest dreams, gold coins, precious jewels, and artifacts from distant lands. The air was thick with the scent of ancient riches, and the flickering torchlight cast eerie shadows on the walls.
Ali Baba's heart raced with excitement and trepidation. He had found the legendary treasure, but the weight of his discovery pressed heavily on his shoulders. What if the tales of the cave's guardians were true? What if he was not alone in this dark, mysterious place? With trembling hands, Ali Baba filled his sacks with gold coins. Each coin he touched seemed to burn with the promise of wealth and the curse of greed. He knew he had to be quick, for the cave's magic could seal him inside at any moment.
Time seemed to stand still in the cave. The silence was deafening, broken only by the clinking of coins and the occasional drip of water from the cave's ceiling. Ali Baba felt as though he was in a dream, a surreal world where time and reality had no meaning.
Close sesame! The words echoed through the cavern, and the entrance began to close. Ali Baba's heart pounded in his chest as he hurried to gather as much treasure as he could before the cave sealed shut. He knew he had to leave before it was too late.
The journey home was fraught with anxiety. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound made Ali Baba jump. He constantly looked over his shoulder, fearing that someone might discover his secret. The weight of the treasure seemed to grow heavier with each step, a constant reminder of the danger he had put himself in.
That night, as Ali Baba and his wife counted the gold, a mix of joy and fear filled their hearts. They marveled at their newfound wealth, but the shadows of doubt and worry loomed large. What if someone found out? What if the guardians of the treasure came looking for them?
Ali Baba swore his wife to secrecy. He knew that their lives depended on it. The treasure was a blessing, but it was also a curse. The more they had, the more they had to lose. The fear of discovery gnawed at him, even as he tried to reassure his wife. Little did he know that the greatest threat would come from within his own family. Greed, once awakened, knows no bounds. His brother, who had always been envious of Ali Baba's good fortune, began to suspect that something was amiss. The glint of gold in Ali Baba's eyes did not go unnoticed. Greed, once awakened, knows no bounds. It consumes the heart and blinds the mind. Ali Baba's brother, driven by jealousy and the desire for wealth, would stop at nothing to uncover the secret of the treasure. The bonds of family were tested, and the true cost of greed began to reveal itself. Word of Ali Baba's sudden prosperity spread through the town. The once humble woodcutter had become the talk of the town, his newfound wealth raising eyebrows and stirring whispers among the townsfolk. Everyone was curious, but none more so than his own brother, Kasim.
Envy gnawed at Kasim's heart. He couldn't understand how his brother, who had always been less ambitious, could suddenly amass such fortune. The green-eyed monster of jealousy took hold of him, making him restless and bitter.
Kasim confronted Ali Baba, demanding to know the source of his wealth. His voice was filled with a mix of anger and desperation. Ali Baba, hesitant at first, eventually revealed the secret of the treasure hidden in the cave, accessible only by the magical phrase, "Open Sesame."
Open sesame. Kasim repeated the words with a sense of urgency and excitement, his mind racing with thoughts of the riches that awaited him.
Kasim rushed inside, drunk on the sight of the vast treasure. Gold coins, precious jewels, and priceless artifacts lay before him, more wealth than he had ever imagined. His eyes gleamed with greed as he began to fill his bags. In his greed, he forgot all caution. He was so consumed by the treasure that he lost track of time, oblivious to the dangers that lurked around him. His only focus was on gathering as much wealth as he could carry.
Open barley, open wheat. Kasim tried to remember the magical phrases, but in his panic, he mixed them up. The cave remained sealed, and his heart pounded with fear.
Panic set in as Kasim realized his dire situation. The walls of the cave seemed to close in on him, and the weight of his greed became a crushing burden. He was trapped with no way out. As night fell, Kasim heard the approach of horses. The thieves had returned. The sound of hooves grew louder, and Kasim's heart raced with terror. He knew that his time was running out. Trapped and terrified, Kasim awaited a fate worse than any he could have imagined. The thieves, ruthless and unforgiving, would show no mercy. His greed had led him to this tragic end, and there was no escape from the consequences of his actions. The cave, once a symbol of unimaginable wealth, had become his tomb. As days passed without word from Kasim, worry gnawed at Ali Baba.
What he found there chilled him to the bone.
Kasim's mutilated body hung at the entrance of the cave.
Morgiana's loyalty to the family knew no bounds.
Morgiana put her plan into action.
Blindfolding him, she had him sew Kasim's body parts together.
Morgiana's clever ruse allowed for a proper burial, maintaining the family's honor. The battle of wits between Ali Baba and the 40 thieves was far from over. The leader of the 40 thieves discovered the breach in their lair.
We will not rest until the culprit is found.
The thieves traced the gold to Ali Baba's household. Little did he know he was inviting his would-be murderer.
Something is off about these oil jars.
Morgiana noticed something amiss and formulated a plan to save her master. Morgiana's mind raced as she pieced together the thieves' plan.
I must do this, for everyone.
Morgiana heated a large cauldron of oil.
Without hesitation, she poured the scalding oil into the jar.
One by one, she moved from jar to jar, repeating the process. With each jar, Morgiana's resolve strengthened. As dawn approached, Morgiana had eliminated all but one of the hidden thieves. The leader, still unaware, slept fitfully in the guest quarters. Morgiana prepared herself for the final confrontation. As morning broke, the thief leader awoke.
I must escape before they realize who I am.
He approached Ali Baba, feigning urgent business.
Safe travels, my friend.
Morgiana observed the thief leader's hasty departure.
This isn't over. He will return and we must be ready.
The battle of wits had only just begun. Weeks passed and life in Ali Baba's household seemed to return to normal. The bustling village continued its daily routines, with merchants selling their wares and children playing in the streets. Yet beneath this veneer of normalcy, a storm was brewing. Ali Baba and his family were unaware of the lurking danger that threatened their newfound peace.
This is it. I must devise a plan. This meal could be our last. Morgiana, the loyal servant, felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She knew that the safety of Ali Baba and his family rested in her hands. Her mind raced as she considered every possible scenario, every potential threat. She couldn't afford to make a mistake.
The salesman, who was indeed the thief leader in a new guise, ingratiated himself with the townsfolk. He moved through the market with ease, his eyes always scanning, always calculating. His charm and wit made him a favorite among the villagers who had no idea of his true intentions. He was a master of deception, and his plan was already in motion. His charisma soon earned him an invitation to dine at Ali Baba's house. Ali Baba, ever the gracious host, welcomed the stranger with open arms, unaware of the danger he was inviting into his home. The thief leader's eyes gleamed with anticipation as he accepted the invitation, knowing that this was the perfect opportunity to strike. As the evening of the dinner approached, Morgiana's mind worked feverishly to devise a plan. She knew that the thief leader was cunning and ruthless, and that he would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. She had to be one step ahead to anticipate his every move. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of strategies and contingencies, each more desperate than the last. She knew that this meal could very well be their last if she failed. The weight of this realization pressed down on her, but it also steeled her resolve. She would not let her beloved Ali Baba and his family fall victim to this treachery. She would fight with every ounce of her being to protect them. Morgiana's courage was about to be put to the ultimate test. As the sun set and the time for the dinner drew near, she prepared herself for the challenge ahead. She donned her most elegant attire, her eyes burning with determination. She knew that she had to be both cunning and brave, that she had to outwit the thief leader at his own game. The fate of Ali Baba's household rested on her shoulders, and she was ready to face whatever came her way.